Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is KPZ. You are here on the home of the slightly above average ship review. I know I said I was going to review Blizkovica. I decided to rent the Navarin, and so you are watching a Navarin match. We're on Northern Waters, it is a domination match, and we are top tier. I have to warn you now that if you are a Russian battleship enjoyer like I am, and you take Mikhail Kedrov and just throw him into this ship and think everything will be great, you will be sadly mistaken. Do not do that. We will talk about the build of the commander and the ship in the port. Your build for this ship really matters. It really does, in my opinion. Now, right off the bat, I see something that's very terrifying. A Miyoji style turret layout. Your A turret to the front and your XY turret to the rear. That is bad. Right here, I think I'm trying to turn to show you the firing angle to get all three turrets firing forward. I know this looks like it's a pretty good angle. I can tell you, you can be citadeled from this angle. Maybe not against everyone, but against the bigger gun opponents like Georgia, Yamato, Musashi. So be cautious when putting your turrets forward on a target. I would say a lot of the time in this ship, the safest way to engage is when you are kiting away. That being said, I do have a modified secondary build going on this ship, and I do think the modified secondary build is the way to go. I played about 10 matches before I went as all in as I'm going to get on secondaries in this ship, and to be quite frank, the results were not very impressive. We're talking like average damage, maybe, like between 50 and 70k, maybe one kill. Trying to play this ship like a normal battleship isn't going to work out for you. Trying to rush in to get within secondary range and hoping your armor will stand up will not work out for you. Because remember, you got limited damage control parties. You're just going to get burnt to an absolute crisp. You have to really pick your engagements carefully. Okay, so here we're going to start shooting at a Michelangelo. It is a cruiser. Russian battleships particularly love shooting at cruisers. There you can see we knocked out a couple of turrets, and we also set him on fire. Essentially, you want to try to isolate one enemy ship, and between a combination of your main battery and your secondary guns, which are not terrible, I would say they're not great, but I think you could say they're very good secondaries. Allow those two things to kind of do your work. Remember, you've got to get the enemy in the mid-range, so ideally 12 to 8 kilometers. I say 8 kilometers because there are a lot of battleships at this tier that can shoot torpedoes, and you don't want to get torpedoed in the ship because it doesn't particularly have a lot of great torpedo protection. So Carl 14 Johann, the Tirpitzes of the world, those are ships you're going to have to studiously avoid because of torpedoes. Here you can see the secondaries are going off. We select the Ostergotland with our secondaries, and even though we're going behind the island, these secondaries are generally pretty accurate. Now, when I said I went in enough as I'm willing to go in, that means I used von Hipper as the first commander inspiration for Kedrov. So I actually, as a result of playing this ship, I actually went and bought out AL Soviet Rossiya to use as another Russian commander because I didn't want to be taking the secondary commander off of Kedrov. Really, there aren't a ton of Russian ships that have a lot of secondaries. Maybe at the lower tier, you could say like a Nikolai or a Gangut might have enough secondaries to try and justify that. But other than that, not a lot. All right, here, there are 3 battleships out here. This is a bad situation for you, and you need to get out of this situation as quickly as you can. You do not want multiple ships shooting at you in the Navarin under any circumstance, unless it could be totally avoided. So here we're kiting away. You can see that salvo disable the turret, lit me on fire. Your turrets have a nice armor profile. We'll go over that in the port, but they do get disabled rather frequently, so keep that in mind. That Massachusetts really did a fair amount of damage. Here I'm trying to get the Georgia lined up for a kill. It's just not going to happen. Okay, I have to turn too much to get that second rear turret on target, and by the time I try to do that, the Georgia will be dead. All right, so we've got mass out there. We've got our rear turrets on target. So there is pretty much good salvo. I'm checking back over to the starboard side of my ship because I think there's a destroyer over there on the other side of the cap where I can't see him. And that is kind of where I'm turning my guns right now. Really, it's more about getting my secondaries online. Here you can see we're putting our rear turrets back towards the mast because the mast changed direction. All right, your secondaries set another fire. So you just want to get these ships in range of your secondaries and let them do the work. Here's another illustration. Rear turret gets knocked out again. Again, these turrets are prone to being disabled. All right, because we were not changing direction a lot, we managed to dodge the torpedoes. That's great for us. Front turret out on the Marco Polo. There is the destroyer. We're going to collide with this cruiser who couldn't imagine that I was trying to get away from two battleships and seems very upset about it, that he drove into me and that he can't move forward now. Blow your horn all you want, dude. All right. Mass not giving us a great profile. I probably should have shot up a little bit more in the superstructure. But you can see the secondaries just so reliably getting shots out there. Here we're going to turn and break free of this cruiser. Get over it, guy. So really you want to keep the Navarin in this range where your secondaries are engaging, but it's not so close you can be victimized by torpedoes. And you have the time to adjust your ship. If they shoot at you, you might be able to get a better profile for that incoming enemy fire. Here, because I didn't know what I was doing, we're going to turn all the way around. And I think we are going to take one hit that's not great coming up here, shooting into the superstructure of mass. And then I want to say, is it right around now? I think one salvo might come in that does a little bit more damage than I would like. But because our secondaries are in range, you can see they are steadily getting hits on Massachusetts. And so, yeah, you don't have the devastating secondaries of like an Italian battleship. But that being said, they are good enough. And we are going to finish off the mass here in a second with a close quarters expert. Kill number 1. And we're steadily getting secondary hits. We're now starting to be engaged by the carrier. You have good but not great AA in the ship. Again, it's somewhat close range and limited in that respect. Michelangelo out here. I think this is the current campaign ship. I am not buying the campaign. I just don't like what I've seen in videos. And despite what Baz and 3D might have you believe, I'm not a cruiser player, so we're not getting involved with that. I really like the Navarin. I hope it is a campaign ship someday. And I can tell you that if you had asked me my opinion of the Navarin before this match, I would have said, yeah, I think it might be a tier 7, playing at tier 8. But in the matches since this match, with my newfound secondary-based approach, all of my games have been well over 100,000 damage. They weren't all wins, but I can tell you I didn't have a single game over 100,000 damage before I switched to this quasi-secondary build, and now all of the games since then have been over 100,000 damage. So definitely damage capable. There you can see we crushed one of the turrets on Michelangelo, and he appears to be kind of dead in the water, so we're just going to keep shooting at him. Unfortunately, those shells, maybe not the greatest accuracy there. So gotta deal with the carrier. So you can see there's going to be more planes being shot down. Again, your AA is good. It is not great. Is it enough to defend yourself against an okay carrier player? Yes. Is it enough to defend yourself against a great carrier player? My opinion is no. All right, more shots at Michelangelo. There is a Citadel hit. He appears to be burning down. He does burn down. Kill number 2. As you can see, we're well over 100,000 damage at this point. All right, there is a destroyer and the aircraft carrier left. And here's where things start to go south for our team. There's another ship out there. I think that ship should be headed towards, what is that, Delta, and capture Delta, and that just doesn't happen. All right, this Georgia is not who I was talking about. This Georgia is going to get taken out in a minute here. I'm talking about the other ship that's behind the island there, cruiser or whatever. The Georgia just gets killed. That cruiser should have gone into Delta and flipped Delta. As you can see, we have just one cap circle. The enemy has 3 cap circles, and there is the Graf Zeppelin. All right, salvo number 1. We are not zooming in because I want to be aware of where these planes are. You can see a couple of hits and a couple of, I guess, what is an overpen? I should not have made this turn here. I should have stayed in the heading I was going by making this turn. Although our turrets are 360 turrets, which is great. As you can see, they're all lined up. I've now opened myself up to attack from the torpedo planes. Second salvo out on Graf Zeppelin. And there is the high caliber metal. And unfortunately, these torpedoes are going to kill us because I turned in and I shouldn't have. All right, they didn't totally kill us yet, but we don't have much time left. All right, more torpedo planes coming in, and I just should not have turned back. I should have kept going forward, and I can't maneuver out of the way. Anyway, we get killed, and we end up with 148,944 total damage. All right, so what you're going to see here now, our carrier gets killed. We have 2 ships left. The cruiser is going to go hunt the enemy destroyer, which is their only ship remaining. And so I would have thought the other battleship should have gone into Delta and flipped Delta. But you'll see, for some unknown reason, this guy decides to turn around, even though he has 0 chance of affecting the outcome of the game in any other way. And he doesn't even do it right now. He's going to do it in like a minute from now, which didn't make any sense at all to me when he started doing it. I was like, all he has to do is go into Delta, stop the cap count, and then flip it, and then maybe the cruiser catches up with the destroyer. But here he turns away, and he has no chance to kill the enemy destroyer. We may not have won the game on points, but I just didn't understand why he should have gone into the Delta cap and flipped that, in my opinion. And I just have no explanation for why he didn't do that. All right, so while the ship is sinking, I guess I should have prepared a little bit better for this review, which I didn't do. Let's look up the history of the Navarin. All right. So there was a battleship Navarin that was a pre-dreadnought battleship built in, 1893 or something like that. But the ship in the game, this Navarin, is a design that was built in 1914. As you know, I have a problem with ships from 1914 being put at this high of a tier. Anyway, primary focus, 406 millimeter guns and quad turrets. Outbreak of World War I, no ships of the design were laid down. So it's a typical premium Russian paper battleship that never existed. Here we switched over to the Brindisi, who's going to try to kill the destroyer and fail. And I just thought that, maybe we couldn't have avoided the loss, but we could have avoided the measure of loss being as great as it was. I don't blame the cruiser at all. He went to kill the destroyer. That's the smart play. I just didn't agree with the battleship not going into Delta and flipping that at the very least. So here we're going to die in a minute. But yeah, it's a paper ship. And I don't remember or recall at this point what ship I used for a picture of the title card. It may have been a drawing, or it may be a picture of the older Navarin battleship. So I don't know. Anyway, do I recommend renting the Navarin if you love secondary focused battleships? Yes. If you love Russian battleships, yes. If you're looking for a sniper, no. Absolutely not. All right, here we are on the defeat screen. Close quarters expert medal, high caliber medal. As stated, almost 149k damage. We shot down 16 airplanes, 2 kills, 7 fires, a Citadel hit, a assisted base cap, and 215 secondary battery hits. 531,652 silver, 6,000 ship XP, 11,000 commander XP in the loss in the Navarin. All right. Moving on to the scoreboard. I don't know what I'm waiting for here. Apparently, I thought I started reading War and Peace while we're waiting for this to change screen, or maybe the video froze. All right. 1719 base XP, 2 medals, 2 big kills. I just felt the Alabama commander made the wrong play. You know, and probably we still would have lost, but that being said, I think he should have flipped the Delta Cap. Just one man's opinion. Really, it's a moot point. I'm not sure there was a way we could have won that match anyway. All right, milestones. As said, I'm not buying the campaign. Let's go examine the Navarin here in the port. In slot 1, secondary battery mod 2. Slot 2, damage control system mod 2. Slot 3, concealment system mod 1. And our 4th slot was the secondary battery mod 3. Taking a look at the loadout, we have 5 charges of the short reset damage control party, 3 charges of what I would consider a greater heal. As you can see, about 774 hit points for the charge, and then 4 charges of the secondary thing there. 4 epic booster flags, the type number permanent camo, the uniting flame flag. I guess I just was like, hey, I need a flag, and that's what I put on this ship. All right, 69,400 hit points and a 24% torpedo damage reduction with our build. We've got those 3 quad 406mm turrets, 16.7 kilometer firing range, 33.1 second reload, 25.7 second turn time. They are 360-degree turrets, so they're not going all the way around. HE shells 5850 max damage, 41% fire chance. AP shells 11,000 max damage. 2 sets of secondaries. The stats are all the same. 130 millimeters, 10.7 kilometer firing range, 4.1 second reload. The shells do 1800 HE shell max damage with a 9% fire chance for all of your secondaries. And as stated, I think they're pretty effective. AA defense, the second set of secondaries is dual purpose. Your longest reaching AA out to 5.2 km. Your best AA is the 23 millimeter 4U-23 emplacements, which do 299 damage per second. Moving on to maneuverability, 27.5 knots, 770 meter turning circle, 16 second rudder shift time. I think it feels a little bit more agile than that. Concealment, the ship is supposed to have good concealment. Yeah, right. 13.1 on the surface, 10.9 from the air, 14.7 when firing in smoke. No, this is not good concealment. My concealment build Yamato got down to 12.5. All right, here is the stat screen. 12 battles played, 7 wins, 5 losses. We survived 3 battles. Main battery accuracy, just 32%. We're averaging 0.7 kills in this ship and a 71k damage per game. The game you just saw was our best game. After recording this, I have had a game with over 150k damage and a game with 3 kills. But that being said, they weren't the same game, which is why you're seeing this one instead. All right. Tick-tock, tick-tock. So, yeah. Is it worth the rental if you love Russian ships or brawlers? I would say, yeah, I think it's worth the rental. All right, here's a look at the armor viewer. All right, really large above water citadel, and another reason why I don't recommend getting too close for comfort. Here's your bow, standard 32 millimeter bow, really deceiving armor belt that's not going to do a whole lot for you, between 113 and 181 millimeters. All right, moving on to turrets and barbettes, I want to say. Nope, torpedo side plating. May act as some sort of spaced armor, but it's not particularly great. Turrets and barbettes. You're looking at this turret profile thinking the turret faces are sloped, the side and rear and front face armor of the turret is heavy armor, but you saw the turrets getting knocked out. So even though it looks great, it's not great. All this orange stuff catches on fire, and that is the armor profile of the Navarin. All right, here's the Commander Mikhail Kedrov. I recommend this build. Actually, since this game, we got Von Hipper in slot 1. I have D. Ravel in slot 2. I've swapped him out since then for Nikolai von Essen. Row 1, not the one for nuisance. Row 2, Porcupine. Row 3, Volunteer. Row 4, Properly Meticulous. And our legendary skill is Fight Fire with Fire. I just wouldn't recommend running with scissors due to the inaccuracy of the main battery. You're going to get burnt down with limited damage cons. You need Fight Fire with Fire in the ship. Anyway, that's the Navarin. Love to hear your thoughts on the Navarin. Like, comment, subscribe down below. I might rent the French destroyer and do a review of that. AA Run says super OP, so. But I'm moving this weekend and next weekend, so I might not have the time. Anyway, see you next video, folks. Have a good one.